just looking at my cutters. Bought these from Harbor Freight. I like them, but I think they're made for aliens. That dude don't have no mouth. Okay, so I really should be working on the seat, but it's daylight and I don't want to waste daylight. So that's going to have to be in when the sun is not shining, maybe later tonight. So, and I still haven't went and got thread because I dread going to Walmart. I don't like going to Walmart, and I despise going to Walmart. So what we're going to do is roll this thing back. This steering is just hanging there, it's not hooked up. I think some people thought that's where I located it, but it's not. It actually goes 2 inches lower than where our hole is, and it's going to actually set in farther. It's going to go in about a ½ inch, so I'm going to do a little bit of body work there to get it. Somebody said something about getting the spark plugs out because of the exhaust, but it's not an issue whatsoever. They're not even close. And the wires, I actually have a whole row of Axel yellow that I bought. I had a V12 Seagrave engine that I had put together, and I was going to put it in a car, and I hate I sold the thing now, but I sold it to a guy. I built it on stand, redone it. This was the it was a Pierce Arrow engine. Seagrave fire trucks bought all their patterns and stuff, and you know, we're talking about a big V12. We're not talking about a little, you know, Lincoln, the little V12s. And so anyway, the only difference was when they cast the heads, they cast 2 spark plugs per cylinder, and because fire trucks had dual ignition. So this thing had 24 spark plugs, 2 distributors, 2 carburetors. Anyway, so 24 plug wires. So I bought that roll to do that engine, and I actually built a stand, a run stand. I done everything to the engine, and then I got it done, and then I sold it to a guy, and it ended up, I think, in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I believe he had a little museum or something they was going to put it in up there. But anyway, wish I'd have kept it. Couldn't at the time. Financially, I definitely couldn't. I needed to sell it because I needed to buy some trucks, really. And don't trust me, it didn't buy no truck, but I mean, it helped me out anyway. So anyway, I've got that yellow, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to run it down under the back. We're going to go down with the plug wires. I want them totally away from the headers, and it'll give it a good clean look. And I've got new boots and everything coming for that also. So anyway, no spark plug issues with them headers. They look like they might be down, but they're not even close. So especially compared to a lot of headers I've gotten from manufacturers over the years. So what we're going to do, I'm going to roll back, and I think I'm going to do the steering. And we'll try to get some of this stuff knocked out that I really need to get knocked out. I need to do the shock mounts for the rear. We're changing the coilovers out. Still got a lot of welding to do on my windshield posts. I got them where I want them. I've got my rubber situation figured out. I've got to build the track, but I've got that figured out. So I think we're okay with all that, and we are just going to keep on this dash. Monday, when Noah gets here, one of his jobs are going to be to take out a 41 Chevrolet dash that I have out of a car, and I've got 2 of them. One's a parts car and one's not, so I'm going to have him take it out of the parts car, and we are going to put a 41 Chevrolet dash in this, and I think it's going to look really good. And you know, it shouldn't be like the 5-window where we just put it in there and welded it in. This is going to be more custom because I got more time. So not much more, but a little bit more. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get to work on this thing and see what we can get figured out. Okay folks, so here's the plan. Body wise, we got a mess in here, but we can't do nothing about it until we take the body off. But here's what I've got. You know, this is my bracket that I built and had put in for the steering. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run a plate up the side of this frame where they've got it boxed, and actually bolt it to this plate, and that'll make it where we can bolt our box in and out. But that's going to bring it over a ½ inch. What I'm going to do is probably clamp it and maybe tack weld it, our new plate, to here, and it'll be welded in permanent to here. But once we as long as we know where it goes exactly after we take the body off, then we can drill our holes. I'm going to put bushings through it, weld them in, do it right, and that way, you know, you got to have a bushing in there so you don't crush the frame when you tighten down, because you really need to get that good and tight, and lock washers and all that good stuff. So that's the plan anyway, and that'll make it where that's completely removable, because, you know, although we've got a bunch of crap carved out down here, and this is going to come off yet. See where I've got the line mark. Even though we've got that, we still need to be able to set this body on and off easily without tearing anything up. So, and you know, we do have a lot more welding fabrication stuff to do, especially on the frame. But like I said, when I get the body off, then I'm going to go wide open on the frame here to try to get it. You know, we're going to do some plating and, you know, fix everything up like it needs to be, like it should be. So that's what we're going to work on now. All right. Okay, we've about got it all figured out how we want it. That's all the way back. So now we've got to come in and do all the body work there. We'll get that. Okay, folks, I've got two of these 41 Chevrolets. One's for parts, and one's going to end up eventually one day getting fixed, I hope. And if not by me, by somebody. But I am going to use this dash in our Roadster. Now we've got some rust on it and some cracking, and somebody has painted over the speedometer for some reason, painted black, but it's got the clock and everything in it. It's got the spot for the radio. There's no radio there. It's pretty neat. No ignition switch, which is okay. But anyway, a couple reasons I want to use this. First, it's pretty narrow. We're going to do a little bit of work to narrow it up. We'll probably narrow this side as much as we can, and then take the rest out of the other side where the glove box is. But the way that it curves in, but it also curves up. So what we'll do is, it's got some rust and rust holes back here anyway toward the front. So, you know, we'll end up cutting it off, but that should give us our curve up. We should be able to mold that dash in to that Roadster dash pretty easy. And we'll see how it looks. But this is going to be a job for Noah. This will test his manhood here, taking this dash out of this car, and I want to take it out without cutting it, and we're going to see how that works out. So we're going to get him down on this thing next. He's changing a couple tires, and I'm going to go back to, I'm thinking I'm going to work on the interior, the seat just a little bit. So anyway, we'll show you more. Okay, folks, we're going to start on this seat, and when I explained and said last time I don't know what I'm doing, what I'm trying to say is I'm not a upholsterer. So what I'm going to show you here is probably not the right way to do it. It's the way I do it, and you know, the way I guess I'll continue to keep doing it until I learn a better way. But here's what we got. We've rolled our material out, and it's brown, and I'm not going to tell you what color the car is going to be. Y'all can guess all you want, but we'll just wait until we paint it and then see how bad it looks. Had a buddy that had a car, well, it was his dad's car, but I was really good friends with his dad, and his car was this color interior and the color that I'm painting it, and just because I liked the way that it was, and I remember it, and I got to ride in it, and I was, what, 12, 13 years old, so I really liked it. But anyway, that's the deal with that. And what I'm going to do first and foremost is square up my piece, because when you buy a piece of cloth or a piece of vinyl and they roll it out and cut it, they're not worried about how square it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this square, and my old rusty square, one of them, and we're going to square up the end, and we'll go ahead and recut the line across there. And I measured, and we needed at least 44 inches. Now I go oversized, and I think 42 is actually what the seat is. We're going to go 44, and we're going to go 20, even though it's about 18. So we're going to go ahead and do it as if it was that size. We're going to sew it up as if it was that size. And then, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this cut out, and get the foam cut out, and the sew foam, and then I'll show you how I put it on, how I mark it, and the best way that I've found to do it. So, alright. Okay, you'll have to excuse the noise of my fan. I'll try to talk loud, but as you can see how far off that was, almost an inch. So we'll trim that real quick, and that'll give us a square piece to start with. Okay, so we got our 20 by 44 piece of material cut out, and now we've got a piece of soap foam cut out that is actually bigger than that. Now they call it soap foam because there's sort of a cloth layer on this that you can sew to without it pulling through it, and because regular foam will pull through. So that's what we're using, and what I've done is I made this bigger, and I'm going to spray glue this, and then I'm going to spray glue the back side of the upholstery, and then I'm going to put it on here. Now the reason, there's a couple things here, little things that I like to do. I like to put instead of putting the soap foam on the material, I like to put the material on the soap foam, keep the material facing up. That way if there's any wrinkles or any bubbles, air bubbles, you know, something like that, you can get them out. And you know, that glue when it dries, it don't want to move. Now the other thing, don't use cheap glue. I learned that the hard way when I had some stuff separating. But this is 3M, and this works really well. Now this stuff is $23 a can. The price is crazy on it. I use the cheap stuff for when I'm doing the cording, stuff like that. But when it comes to this, I wanted to use the good stuff. So that's what we're going to do now. We'll go ahead and get it down. Okay, so now we've got it on. As you can see, the foam is oversized, so we're going to trim the foam around it, and then we can start making our marks. Okay, so we've just flipped it over, and the next most important thing to do, this is 44, we need to find center. 22, we'll mark it, and then we'll use our square to do our marks, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Okay folks, we've got the plates marked, and what I used was the 2-inch side of the square. And that way I could get every one of them exact. And I wouldn't measure each one of them out and mark them and try to get them right. Just find something or cut something the thickness that you really want to make your pleats, and that's going to make things go so much nicer and straighter and all that good stuff. So we're going to get to sewing. Okay, so just remember to sew it from the back side where we drew the lines at. But there we go, sewn up, ready to go. And now this is oversized from the seat, so we'll flip this over, and then we'll bring the seat in. We'll lay the seat down on it. And one of the important things again is going back to center, because we want to go the center of this and the center of our seat. We'll measure, mark everything, and then we will actually mark around it, and I'll show you as I go with it. But we'll mark around it and cut it out to the correct size. So just remember, we're oversized. Now I locked the stitches at the end. Now when we cut this, it's going to be cutting the ends off, so the stitches won't be locked. But when we sew our piping in around it, that's going to lock the stitches back in. And I've got to make the piping. Alright folks, there's our dash. Noah done a good job. Took it out. Didn't even have to come up and ask for any help. A little bit of rust here. Some rust down at the bottom. And of course that rust, but most of this we can probably do something about. Now this was a wood grain dash at one time. It's not anymore, but quite a bit of rust on it, but we're going to work with it. Okay folks, we got the foam on. I went 20 inches with that. I wish I'd have went a little bit more, but it's going to be just right. But this foam is a little thicker than what I'm used to working with, and it collapses a little more, so it's not going to be a problem with getting it on. But we're probably going to leave these ends where they're at, or the sides. We need to trim this, and what I usually do, tuck in just a little bit, but go about a 1/2 inch out from here, because when you sew the piping on, it's going to make it a little bit smaller. So that's what we're going to do now. Trace the ends out on both ends, and then we'll start, we'll cut it, and then we'll get our piping together. One thing you got to make sure you do is find the center of this seat and line it up with the center of your top, and on front and back, and that way your ends will be right. So, alright, okay, we've got our cording done, and all this is a piece about 2 inches wide that I cut strips, and then put the I use clothesline material, and I think it's 1/8 inch or something like that, and a little bigger. Anyway, just spray glue it, fold it over it, and sew it in. I've gotten a little better with my where they join at. Got to cut the thread off yet, but it's kind of hard to say. But anyway, so we're going to get this sewn on our top since we've got it trimmed out, and go from there. Okay folks, we've got it laying on here, and as you can see, the foam, it's gonna stretch over about right. Shouldn't have any issues there. It's kind of hard to tell, but it comes up and gets wider at the front. So anyway, once we get it stretched and get it on there, it'll look really well. And we're gonna do that tomorrow. I was hoping to get it done, but I don't want to rush it because I'm trying to film it, so if I rush and do it, then I won't be able to film it. So there it is. I don't know how it looks on camera. It's kind of shiny. That light glaring off of it. It's gonna come out just fine. We just have to get it stretched over and hog ringed on. Still haven't decided what I'm going to do on the front for the extra length down here. Once I get this made, I mean, I can cut something, put on there, or put a seam in it, or I might just run it straight down and then do like some people said and sew up some pockets. I've seen a guy sew some pockets up using you know, the stretching material, elastic, when I was, I don't know, 17, 18 years old, so I remember how he done it, and I think I can duplicate that and make it pretty nice. But it came out good. You can see the distance here and the distance here. You know, it's pretty much the same, and that's what we were shooting for, and that's all because we went from center out. And when I started sewing this on, I went from center out. And somebody gave me a good idea on this. If you take some Sharpie and get some brown on this one, just put some brown Sharpie on it, it'll cover that really well. So anyway, here's where we're at, and we'll do the measurements. I'll show you how I do the other measurements, and we'll sew it the rest of the way up tomorrow. Alright, appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, bye.